Thabita, who have been two individuals who have been extremely hardworking, and they have really tried to summon us when we are late. They have always consulted us. They have always talked and told us about the responsibility we've been holding. Madam Speaker, as I'm contributing to the issue of the disbursement schedule that is being done by the Budget Committee where I sit, and honestly, the way the Vice Chair spoke, the truth is that we've really been burning the midnight oil to make sure that these reports are completed on time so that we can try and present our schedule so that then devolution doesn't collapse. Madam Speaker, one of the things I wanted to discuss and raise is that, number one, I am happy that most of the committees now, after 10 years of devolution, are beginning to understand the responsibility of us making sure that our major role, Madam Speaker, is to have our committees act, or indeed the Senate act as a secondary oversight role in making sure that we follow up on the amounts of money that the national government is supposed to release to the county governments. And then we are supposed to again follow up to the primary oversight authority, and that is the county assembly, to make sure that any resources they get are used and channeled directly to the county governments that we represent. My major responsibility, Mr. Speaker, has been to follow up, to do my job, accept what my mandate is and my responsibility. That mandate is to act as the oversight officer, make sure follow up on the detailing, which I believe the Kenyan public is listening, and that is how is this money released, where does it go, and how it's spent. To a large extent, Mr. Speaker, what normally happens is that there is confusion which is created deliberately, and I think we have had some of our colleagues here mention that it is very common and very obvious when you see some governors talking and saying how money has not been released by the government, and in fact, the government is the one which is not paying salaries. And Mr. Speaker, I've been telling my colleagues in the opposition where we belong that at some point, when a government in office, and even when the opposition party participates in doing something that is appreciated, we should give them credit. I actually would like to officially give credit to the KK government because of the fact that for the first time, all the money that is supposed to go to the county government has been released. That is what we would want to encourage the government to do, because this money being released is not supposed to be done as a punishment. It is supposed to be done because, one, it is constitutional. Number two, that the government, the national government's responsibility, and indeed for this case, the KK government's responsibility is to make sure that our money is released and it's taken to the county governments where it's supposed to mitigate the issues which are affecting our people. Mr. Speaker, the second issue that I've discovered since coming to the Senate, and indeed being in this committee and many of the other committees that I sit, because I sit in the CPA committee, I sit in the budget committee, which we are talking about now, and I also sit in the devolution committee. The experience I've learned has been quite amazing. Number one, I have understood that unless we protect devolution fiercely, there's a possibility that even by default, not by design, even by default, devolution can actually fail. What I mean, Mr. Speaker, is that we must take the responsibility as the Senate, which is the body that is mandated to make sure that we oversight and make sure that the resources that are raised from our people are used well, are used effectively, are used openly without any corruption, are used without wastage, and we must make sure that this is the message we send to the governors and also indeed to the national government, because the two governments, as we are observing, seem to be having many of these issues. You hear everybody talking about wastage, wastage, wastage. I think just the way I saw President Ruto talking about Why are we having cabinet ministers traveling to Seychelles? You find 17 people are in a flight going to the Seychelles. They don't even know that Seychelles is one of the largest countries that produces sugar in Africa. They just go and stay on holiday for 2 weeks and come back and get paid the per diem, which we all get paid, and assume life is normal. You have county governments. I am actually shocked that Kisii County, Mr. Speaker, is one of the governments where the governor has just taken about 40 members of the county assembly to China on holiday. And they're using public money. Can you imagine, Mr. Chair, my speaker, can you imagine what 40 individuals will consume when they travel abroad? I can tell you it's not less than 2 million. 2 million times 40 individuals is 80 million. And yet Kisii Level 6 hospital doesn't have medicines. Kisii Level 6 hospital and other peripheral health centers don't have even nurses in numbers. Can you imagine, Honorable Dr. Halwale, what 100 million can do in a year in terms of providing the community healthcare workers who are paid 5,000 shillings a month, and there are 1,000 in Kisii. If you multiply times the amount of money that we are using to take a trip to China, and I don't want to say that Kisii is particularly a unique case. This is what all the county governments are doing. They say they are going to benchmark about growing something. They are going to benchmark about construction of roads. Our roads, we have the blueprints, Honorable Halwale, all the blueprints and the Ministry of Public Works. If you want to do a road in West Pokot and you want the BQ, it's there. All you have to factor in is the factor of inflation, and you'll know what the figures are. But members of the county assembly, and indeed, this house suffers from that disease. That is why I am so happy that President William Ruto has said, cabinet secretaries, you travel with only 3 people. All the members of the National Assembly take only 2 trips, 3 trips, and those are enough. Let us try and save our people the pain, the anger, and the annoyance where these people who make sure we get elected every 5 years, these people who are being taxed heavily because we are trying to catch up with the past mistakes of misuse and abuse of public funds. I want to plead with my colleagues that let us be careful and let us understand that our people expect better from us. That our people want us to make sure that our counties are run properly, the resources are utilized well, services are provided on time so that our country can move forward, because this is what we want for our country. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the audit reports, because I sit in the budget committee, as you saw, it has been announced by the government, the KK government, the pending bills are about 560 billion. Honorable members of this Senate, I would like to plead with you. Let us make sure we look for a structured way on how we can sit down and come up with a proposal on how we are going to make sure that the pending bills issue is sorted out once and for all. And one of the suggestions I would like to make is that I saw my dear Vice Chair, Madam Mathabita, raise the issue. Why are county governments and national government departments agreeing to go to tender for jobs when they know very well that the jobs they're tendering for don't have the resources to complete the construction or the implementation of these projects? Let us be prudent with ourselves. Let us spend what we have. If we know we have got 3 trillion, let us put all our eggs in that 3 trillion. Let us agree that we can't continue spending money that we don't have. And that is the reason why it is attractive to borrow, it is attractive to beat our